All right. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? I'm going to be your host today. It's me, Richie T. Oh, there it goes. Sorry about that. All right. So, anyways, hello. I'm going to be your host today. Most of you know me as Richie T, also Richard T. And today we're going to be doing something a little different. So, in preparation for SCG Cincy, which is this weekend, we are going to be playing the deck that I will be playing in the format that I will be playing, which is Legacy. I'm really excited for this. I'm going to be teaming with two of my good friends, Ian Bear and Gavin Kokenauer. I'm super excited, and I really think we're going to do well. So, let's jump right on in to the deck, shall we? So, I'm going to go over the whole deck because I haven't done a Legacy deck tech yet, and I want to explain some things. So first off, we have our 8 fetch lands. We have 4 Scolding Tarn, and then we have a split between 2 Polluted Delta and 2 Flooded Strand. The reason I'm not playing any Misty is I actually feel playing the Flooded Strand and Polluted Deltas are better because you're more likely to look like another deck without Misty Rainforest and then casting a cantrip. So I've decided to go that split on fetch lands, even though it's not the most optimal around Phyrexian Revoker. Moving down, we have 3 Volcanic Islands. This is Legacy, so we do get to play with the best dual lands that have ever been made. And we're only going to run 3 because it's also very powerful in Legacy to run basic lands, since there are so many things that interact negatively with non-basics, since we do have such strong ones. And for that, I'm on a split of 1 island, 1 snow-covered island, and 1 mountain. Now, you might ask why the split for the island and the snow-covered island. In a pretty popular deck named Miracles, they run this card called Predict. And what Predict does is they target a player and then name a card. That player mills the top card of their deck, and if it's the card that they choose for the name, they get to draw 2 cards, otherwise they draw 1. Typically, they'll set this up with some of the powerful cantrips in the format, as well as some other cards in their deck. But in case they ever go for a blind predict on me, I want to make it less likely that they hit. And one way they could hit is by naming a basic, thinking that we have more copies of it in our deck. So doing this, if we have island and they name island, they'll never hit. If we have snow-covered island and they name snow-covered island, they'll never hit. So I have Wasteland in its own slot, even though it's a land, because while it makes colorless mana, that's not the primary focus of it. Wasteland in a lot of these decks are considered more to be a spell than actually a land, because for the most part, you're just using it for the ability, which is sacrifice Wasteland, destroy target non-basic land. This is very powerful in Legacy, as a lot of decks are greedy when it comes to their mana bases, since the mana base is so good with the original dual lands. So there's a lot of times that you can just hit someone off a color, or even just stop them from playing the game by blowing up their only land. As well as it gives us interactions against decks that, for the most part in the format, only run lands, such as Turbo Depths and lands itself. Moving on, next I want to go over our creatures, which are right here. Of course, we have the Namesake card, which is 4 Delver of Secrets. It's one of the best creatures in Legacy. If you play or watch any Legacy, you know what this card does. Next, we have one of the new cards in the deck, which is where the terrible part of this deck's name comes from. And that's 4 Terramander. This card has been absurd in Legacy. So, while it seems kind of lackluster as just a 1/1 for 1 flying, the Adapt 4 for 8 mana is actually quite easy when you have so many free/1 mana cantrips, that this guy can get big pretty fast and almost acts as a blue Tombstalker for us. But he can also try to bait a removal spell if our opponent doesn't expect a free card into pumping him. Moving down the line, the next creature we have is a 3 of Young Pyromancer. Young Pyromancer is one of the best cards when you're trying to go late or grind a game out. You cast so many spells in Legacy, especially in this deck, where we're at, I believe, 29 spells, instants, and sorceries in our main deck that will trigger Young Pyromancer. It's just a nice way to be able to go wide as well as just be able to overwhelm your opponent with elemental tokens. And then, since we are more of a mid-range deck as opposed to aggressive, we can't leave home without our True Name Nemesis. We got 2 copies of it, as you see in most decks that run True Name. And this card is utterly absurd. Once it hits the board, it's so hard to get away. A lot of sweepers in the format don't hit it, or a lot of decks have to play certain sweepers so that way they can hit it. And it's arguably one of the most powerful creatures in Legacy now that Deathrite Shaman's gone. So I feel like it'd be a mistake not to play it now that we're more mid-rangey. Next, we're going to go over the thing that really defines a lot of what Legacy is, which is cantrips. So we have our 4 ponders, which are look at the top 3. You can put them in any order, and then you can choose to shuffle your deck or not, and then you draw a card. Hey, Sig, how's it going? Followed by that, we're on a 1 of Preordain, which is essentially just the 5th copy of Ponder, but actually feels a lot better than Ponder in the late game, because if you only want one of the cards, you only have to take one, to where Ponder without a fetch or some way to manipulate your library, you're stuck with those cards. Then we have the actual most powerful cantrip in Legacy, arguably one of the most powerful cantrips in Magic the Gathering itself, Brainstorm. Yeah, Legacy's great. This is one of my favorite formats. It's between this or a really good standard. So with Brainstorm, you draw 3 cards, then you put 2 from your hand back on top of your library. Now on the surface, this card doesn't seem very powerful, as you're just going to draw those 2 cards next time, so it really only dug you 1 card deeper. But in combination with either a Ponder or a Fetch Land, you can shuffle away the cards you don't want, almost making Brainstorm Ancestral Recall-esque. It also works really, really well when you need to pressure your opponent to help you flip your Delver. And it can also help you hide cards that you want against discard spells. This is arguably one of the hardest cards in Magic to play with, but it's also one of the most rewarding for once you do learn. Maybe I can teach you some tricks about it, or maybe you can even teach me some in the comments. Our last cantrip, quote-unquote, in this deck is actually another Ravnica Allegiance card, and that's Light Up the Stage. So, a 3-mana Divination doesn't seem that strong, especially when you don't get to keep the cards permanently. But once you hit once you Spectacle it and can cast it for 1 mana, this card actually becomes insane. 1 mana draw 2 is something that they'd never give blue, but since we're a blue-red deck, we get access to this, and since we have a lot of cheap creatures, it's actually relatively easy to trigger Spectacle. I actually had a game against Miracles this past weekend where I Light Up the Stage into a Light Up the Stage, hit a Force of Will and a blue cantrip, cast the blue cantrip to put a blue card in my hand, so that way I had Force Up still. That's the other huge thing about Light Up the Stage. Once we get to our counter magic, all of our counter magic is free in the sense that they have alternate costs, and with Light Up the Stage, you do get to pay those alternate costs. But before we get to the counter magic, which is really what defines Legacy, let's hit up the removal for a minute. So we have 4 Lightning Bolts, tried and true, one of my favorite cards, and also one of the best cards in Magic the Gathering. 1 mana for 3 damage has really been the principle of what we get. I doubt we'll ever get anything better, and most things worse don't let us the stand of time when it comes to Eternal formats. However, I do have one mana card that doesn't do 3 damage, and that's a Forked Bolt. This is because there's a lot of X1s roaming around Legacy right now, between Delver of Secrets and Baleful Strix, that it's nice to be able to get a 2-for-1, or against a lot of the cards in Death and Taxes, it's really nice to have this one of Forked Bolt. We also have 3 Chain Lightnings, which is just Lightning Bolt at sorcery speed, that sometimes gets thrown back at us, but that's pretty rare. For the most part, that's just extra copies of Lightning Bolt to help us be aggressive and also give us some extra removal. And then last, I have a 1 of Vapor Snag in the main deck. This is mainly for your Reanimator or your Turbo Depths decks, or anything really trying to put a big fatty into play that won't die to Lightning Bolt. We just tell them to pick it back up, lose a life, and then try to out-tempo them. The best way to out-tempo them, and really the thing that defines Legacy, as I was saying, is the free counter magic. We're on 4 of each. First up, I'm going to talk about Daze. Daze is very powerful in a aggressive tempo style deck because it helps like slow your opponent down and also like get them off their feet. So essentially for 0 mana, by just returning one of my islands, which can either be an island or a volcanic island, my opponent has to pay 1 more for their spell or else it's countered. You can get a lot of cards with this because people don't have the mana to pay for it and you're pressuring them. But it also makes them play around it a lot, which gives you more and more time. As well is the 4 of Force of Will, which most people know about is one of the backbones of Legacy. You pay 1 life and pitch a blue card to just counter a spell. It is a 0 mana counter spell when you do that, which is extremely powerful against the combo decks in the format. But as much as people think, Force of Will isn't the insane card that it is very good, but against a lot of mid-range or control decks, you actually take Force of Will out. Because a 2-for-1 on yourself doesn't actually feel that good when all your cards matter. So we're going to move over to the sideboard now. And I've broken this up by hate cards, removal, and counter spells. So let's start with the removal again. We have 2 Abrades, that way we can deal with artifacts such as Batterskull, Umezawa's Jitte, Sword of Fire and Ice, as well as being able to kill almost any creature that we'd really want in the decks that we bring this in against. We have a second copy of Vapor Snag for those big creatures that we just can't deal with 3 damage. And then we have a 1 of Blazing Volley. So Blazing Volley is the sweeper of choice that I choose to play because there's a huge difference between the 1 mana and the 2 mana of this and Electrickery. The fact that it's a sorcery does stink, but I'm willing to give that up to have it be 1 less mana. Moving on to the counter magic, we have 2 copies of Flusterstorm, which is a really good counterspell in Legacy because it's very hard to either Force of Will, Daze, or even really stop at all without your own Flusterstorm. It's kind of a pain to cast on Moto, which hopefully we don't have to see, but if we do, wish me luck. So it is also great against Storm because it targets every copy of their Storm spells. What about Carnage Tyrant as a sneak-in? Are you referring to in the sneak-in show deck, in Josh's Dinosaur deck, or in my deck? Because in Josh's deck, I think he just wants something that hits a little bit harder. In Sneak-In Show, I think they just want to kill you faster. And in my deck, I really don't want something that's uncastable. I just kind of want to get my opponents. So then we have a Singleton Spell Pierce, because this card, unlike Flusterstorm, is a lot better early game and can also target things like Sneak Attack, any of the fast mana in the format that's typically an artifact, or anything from like a Chalice of the Void to a Grim Monolith. And then we have 2 Pyroblast. Legacy is a blue-heavy format, so a card like this makes a lot of sense in the sideboard. It's also one of the few things that can counter, like one of your few ways to interact with a True Name Nemesis is by countering it, especially when you're in just the blue-red shell. So you really need to try to get this card and not let it resolve for your opponent, but it can also help you force through your things. Then moving on to the hate pieces. We have 2 Surgical Extraction because graveyard decks are very powerful in this format, and they typically can go off between turns 1 and 2, so we need something free that can hit it, while it also flips our Delver of Secrets. But we do have a 1 of Grafdigger's Cage because I really want a hard-hitting card in those matchups. So even though it might be a little awkward if they have Chancellor of the Annex in their deck, this card is backbreaking against them. We also have 2 Blood Moons, which come in against a lot of the fairer decks in the format, and also the unfair decks that don't tend to run a lot of basics, because it's just a good way to cheese games out, while also it benefits us because we do play basics, to where most decks don't. And then we have a 1 of Null-Rod. Again, like I said, artifacts in Legacy can be tricky for this deck, like Batterskull, Umezawa's Jitte, or Sophie. But there's also some artifact combo decks that Null-Rod's nice to just stop in their tracks. So the 1 of Null-Rod has felt pretty good. So now, before we move to the games, I'm going to hop over and talk about our sponsor for the stream, Mom's Basement Games. You can check them out at their momsbasementgames.tcg Player Pro store. And they have just about anything you'd ever need when it comes to Magic wise. Right now, our top sellings are basic lands and also Oath of Teferis, but they have much, much more in stock. You can also come over here and check out our Twitch, which you're on unless you're watching on YouTube, which if you are, everything I talk about is going to be in the description below. You can like our Facebook page right here, follow us on Twitter, as well as watch our YouTube content for every format from Legacy to Modern to Standard. Mom's Basement Game is the one-stop shop for anything you'd want. On top of that, if you would like to give me some support personally, feel free to follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @RichardTMTG. I'm always down to talk about Magic or anything else you need. Let's just take a scroll through a couple of my tweets. Here you see me talking about the deck I'm playing. Some nice food I had in Philly this past weekend was delicious. As well as our giveaway. I want to take a minute to talk about the giveaway in case any of you guys haven't heard about it. So, we are going to be giving away 4 foil Tarmogoyfs through Mom's Basement Games. You heard me right. It is a free giveaway. The only thing you have to do to enter is follow us on Twitch. Now, if you would like some extra entries, the ways to get those are to subscribe to us on Twitch or become one of our Patreons. So, if you do either of those things, as long as you follow us on Twitch, you will have a chance to win these 4 foil Goyfs. I'm super excited for us to give these away. All of us are excited, and we can't wait to see who gets them. With that said, I think it's time to play some Legacy. Will I be seeing any of you guys in Cleveland? Or in, not Cleveland. Cleveland's the weekend after. Will I be seeing any of you guys in Cincinnati this weekend? Alright, we lost the die roll, which kind of stinks, but should be fine with our deck. Let me increase our hand size a little bit. So if our opponent's on like a combo deck, this hand isn't great. But it's one of those hands I don't think we can really mulligan. We have Delver in to light up the stage into True Name. We have Wasteland if we need to disrupt their mana. So I think this hand's a fine keep. You're terrified of crowds. I'm sorry to hear that. Alright, our opponent kept, and so will we. Ooh, they lead on Wasteland. So this is actually, like, part of the big benefit to our deck. They lead on Wasteland, which against a lot of decks would be super awkward. But because we run basic lands, we just get to fetch our island here, and this Wasteland doesn't super matter now. Cavern of Souls Goblins, okay. This can actually be a pretty rough matchup because of cards like this. So we really need to flip our Delver here. If we don't flip our Delver, we might be in a little bit of pressure. We would not like to reveal Delver of Secrets. Uh-oh. Okay. So this is kind of awkward. I really want to play True Name next turn. Hey, cool, I'm glad you're here again. So, we don't have a counter spell, but I kind of want to just disrupt their mana and play this Delver, since we can't attack anyways, and while True Name's really good against his deck, Goblin Piledriver does have protection from blue. So we're going to Wasteland this Cavern, play another Delver, and just ship it back to him. If you weren't here cool to hear about the giveaway, feel free to check out me, Mom's Basement Games, or any other Twitter for anyone that's on the stream team for more information on that. Oh, you did hear. Cool. So we can't block this, so we just got to take our beats. Hopefully flip these Delvers here. That's another True Name, which really punishes us for using that Wasteland there. So This is really awkward. They're probably going to get to put something into play with this Goblin Lackey if I attack. But I don't really know if just sitting here and passing does a lot. What are you building in Modern, man? So... I think we just kind of have to play the brick wall game. And leave these Delvers back and hope they don't have a way to kill him and get in with the Lackey. This draw is really awkward against Goblins. We just haven't drawn any removal spells. Amulet's a really good deck. One of my good friends plays it. It's actually the deck I played at the most recent Invitational when I went. Are you on the Coalition Relic list, or are you on... I think Light Up the Stage is very good in this deck. I'm not sure about it in Burn. Josh says he's... Oof, another pile driver. Josh says he prefers Risk Factor, and I tend to take his input when it comes to Burn. Alright, Chain Lightning's a good draw, plus it flips our Delver. So, let's see. I really want to Light Up the Stage because this True Name doesn't do a lot against these pile drivers. And our Delver can't really block them. So I think we're going to get him for 3. Then I think we're just going to fetch our basic mountain here. Since he has Wastelands. And we're going to Spectacle this Light Up the Stage. What'd we hit? Oh, there they are. Sorry about that. Was looking in the wrong spot. So that was actually really good. So we can play this fetch land from our hand. Or from our exile. And then we can just use this Lightning Bolt. On one of these pile drivers. So that was a pretty good turn for us. If he decides to play something... If they decide to place... Oh, they're on Rakdos Goblins. Okay. Is this probably a Ringleader? Yep. What do they reveal? Ooh, double Matron. That's pretty good for them. Means they can tutor up some Goblins. Probably gets smacked for 1. Oh, yeah, that has haste. So we take 5 here. We're down to 8. Ooh, Young Pyromancer is a really good draw. So... Pyromancer's a good draw, but I think I just want to stick this True Name more. So... I think... We're going to start by attacking for 3. Play the Volk. Play a True Name and target them. Then we're going to Chain Lightning this Pile Driver. Because that's the card that can, like, just beat us. Hopefully they don't hit a black source for this Stronghold, and then I can just Wasteland it next turn. I can play True Name, Wasteland it. Then we should be in a pretty good spot. Crater Maker in the main. That's probably just going to smoke our Delver. I'm curious if they just decide to fire off both these Wastelands here, or if they want their mana. Our opponent is saying they're having a lot of mana issues. It does happen, especially when you play the black-red version. So we do have one more blue source in our deck still. So I think we're going to wasteland this Volrath Stronghold. Because, again, I just don't want them buying their things back. Then we're going to play this Pyromancer. And I still like just sitting back with the True Name because we're the ones that are behind. I think they're probably going to just tutor for another... Oh, a Gem Palm. Interesting choice to tutor for. I think I would have probably just gone for another Pile Driver unless they don't have one. So here I'm going to just Brainstorm. I might Brainstorm lock myself, but we're not doing a whole lot, and we actually drew our blue source, which is perfect. So I don't want to fetch if I don't have to. But I want all of this counter magic in our hand, but I want a Forked Bolt. So I actually think... Well, I think I'm going to put Force and then put this land on top. Or actually, I'm going to put the True Name on top. No, I'm going to put the land. Then I'm going to Forked Bolt the Ringleader. And smash with the True Name. And so if they play something I want to counter, I can just daze it. If not, I can just play another True Name next turn. Yeah, I'm really confused why they get the Gem Palm unless he's just... he was just super scared of the Pyromancer, which I guess I get, but still seems really bad. Like, he's time-walking himself here, and I'm just going to stick another True Name. Yeah, that's a really late Vial. So we're just going to fetch our snow-covered island here. That way he can't wasteland us. Just get in with the whole team. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we turned the corner now. We are behind on clock, though, but that's expected since we're the blue deck. And now we have lethal on board. Because there's not much he can do about these True Names. Put a Lackey into play. A Skirk Prospector. Then Matron, sure. Yep, realizes he doesn't have an out to the True Names and scoops it up. So for anyone that's new here, the way I like to sideboard is I just like to put everything in, look at my deck, and then decide what's bad. So Blood Moon's obviously not good, and Null Rod's not that good. I'm not a huge fan of our counter magic here, especially not like Flusterstorm. Spell Pierce doesn't seem that great. Surgical doesn't seem great. Pyroblast and Grafdigger's Cage seems pretty bad. So we have 4 cards to cut now. I normally like Daze on the play against Goblins, but I'm not a huge Force fan either. So I'm trying to decide between Force and Daze, which is worse. on the draw. What do you guys think, if any of you guys play Legacy or just have input in general? Usually I lean towards taking days out, but I'm never going to want to 2-for-1 myself with one of these Force of Wills. Force is decent in our opener if they have a Vial, though. To where Daze is just pretty much bad. So I think I'm leaning more towards taking out Daze. Daze or Force? Force or Daze? Thanks for the follow, March. I think we're going to just go ahead and cut these Dazes on the draw. If someone thinks that it's better to cut Force, I'd love to hear your reasoning, because I'm really torn on it. So this is one of the kind of awkward things with Wasteland. This hand would have been great if either of these were a colored source, but because it's not, we have to mulligan. And so this hand's a little bit worse, but we have to keep it. Not really in the business for another land. Yeah, that's kind of like what I ultimately decided on for the draw. Unfortunately, we don't have the right on time. All right. I really don't like exposing myself to Wasteland, but I want to play this Terramander and follow it up with this Pyromancer. But I do have this Ponder I can play. So I think it's correct to just get the island. Another Aether Vial. I don't think I'm in the business of countering the second one. Boom. There's our red source. So they shouldn't have any flyers, so I'll just get him for 1. Then we're just going to go ahead and stick Young Peasy. Young Peasy's pretty good against them because their deck for the most part is a bunch of X1s. Is this a lackey? Nope, nothing. Just eating up some of our clock. If we do lose this game, though, I think we're going to bring the Dazes back in. Because I do think Daze is better than Force on the play. Sorry. Yep, you got a pile driver. Alright, another Terramander. I think we're just going to lead on this Ponder. Try to find a removal spell. Boom. I really don't want to draw one of these lands, but I really want this Abrade, so that's the sacrifice we have to make sometimes. So I don't want to take any chance of him putting something in to kill our young Pyromancer, so I'm just going to attack for 1. Vial to 2 and 3. Interesting. I think I would have maybe left a Vial at 1. Alright, back to us. So I really want to waste this cavern, but I don't want to draw that island, so I'm actually just going to play this Delta and this Pteramander here. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We're up to 3 on him. Again, just attacking with the Pteramander. And passing the turn back. Probably go to 4 and stay at 2, would be my guess. Yep. They might have a ringleader then. Another Vial. So they're pretty Vial flooded this game. Here I'm just going to fetch a Volk because I don't really know what color I want more of at this point. Ooh, that's a good draw. So I think we're just going to start by attacking with our Pteramanders. Then we're going to get lit. The reason I'm not playing the Wasteland yet is a reason exactly like this. I actually want to Wasteland this cavern more now, but if I hit a spell I wanted to cast, I would have rather been able to play colored mana. And we're going to save this Forked Bolt for a turn. Worst case, we play it on our own. Russ, you play Goblin. You actually play Goblins in Legacy, don't you? Is this the ringleader? Yep. Oof. They only hit a Mog Fanatic, it looks like. That feels pretty bad. It does let them kill either the Pyromancer or a Pteramander, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So something interesting is I could have adapted a Pteramander if I would have Forked Bolted. But I think killing his creatures is just better. I'll read that here in a second. Sorry, my team and I are talking about card choice for this weekend. Young Pyromancer, Lightning Bolt. I think we're past the time of wanting the Pyromancer, but I'll gladly draw the Lightning Bolt. Play our land. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can't adapt here. Let's see what our opponent was raging about. Go to combat. Poke for 2. Just talking about the Phoenix deck, which is what we think our modern player is going to be on. I'm just going to let this happen. Oh, I didn't realize they had zero cards in hand, or I would have just bolted there. So 1, 2, 4, 5. This will be 6, 7, 8. So we can adapt 1 here. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I just want to get them dead. Another one is not bad. So I'm not in danger of dying, and I just kind of want to get our opponent. Makes them have to block anyways. This game seems pretty locked up from here. Alright. If this is a ringleader, I still don't know if it gets him out of this. It was a lackey. GG's opponent. Alright. So that felt pretty good. The true names in the main definitely helped out a lot in game 1. Normally that matchup was rough when I was on the Sly version of this deck. Oh, we found an opponent already. That was quick. Legacy Q's popping today. And we won the die roll. Alright. This hand's great. We have a turn 1 Delver. We'll probably fetch a basic island for it. We have a True Name as our backup threat, along with a Brainstorm to help find our lands and some good removal spells. Gonna start by fetching for a basic island. Is land. Turn 1 Delver, one of my favorite plays in Magic. Windswept Heath, interesting. Mox Diamond, probably 4-color loam. Yeah, it definitely looks like 4-color loam. Chalice for 1. That's going to be tough. Our hand is very 1-drop heavy. This is one of the reasons we have the Abrades in our sideboard is for Chalice decks. Alright, Delver, I'm going to need you to flip here, bud. Thank you. So, unfortunately, we need to just draw our land naturally now for this True Name. And we don't have any answers to this Chalice main deck, I believe. Nope. So we have an interesting choice of either hoping for Young Pyromancer or firing off a couple of these spells in case we draw a Pteramander. I think I'm fine bridging a little bit of a gap between. Ooh, we did in fact draw the land for True Name, so that's looking pretty good. Typically this... Oh, they do have the Maze of Ith, so this attack just kind of makes them use it. The True Name is going to be a really effective clock against them, because it can't be targeted at all by them, and typically they don't play anything to get rid of it, except for maybe a couple Lilianas of the Veil. I mean, a Braid is the same thing as Shattering Spree in this situation. Engineered Plague in the main. Alright. This deck is real spicy. Name's Rogue, oddly enough. I feel like Merfolk is the more likely thing for me to have. So it's looking pretty rough now that they had this. We're going to try to see more of their deck at this point. Yeah. Like, I was expecting Deluge, not Engineered Plague. But even Deluge main is pretty unique. A Courser. Maybe this isn't quite 4-color loam. This might be something different. The more I think about it, the worse that Vapor Snag play actually was. Because we actually can't cast Terramander. So I should have just held it. Yep. What's this one name? Human? Sure. Not even going to bother attacking here. I'm just trying to see more, like I said. Okay, Knight, so pretty likely to just be 4-color loam then. Yeah. We're just not going to win from here, so. Alright, on to sideboard. We actually seen a lot of basics, surprisingly, so I'm not sure if Blood Moon's that great. Null Rod doesn't seem good. Abrade seems fantastic. Flusterstorm does not seem that good. Spell Pierce seems good. Surgical, maybe, but not Blazing Volleying, not Forked Bolting, not Pyroblasting or Caging. So we got 5 cards left at this point. We've seen a lot of basics, so I'm really trying to decide if this Blood Moon is worth it. They are a 4-color deck with Mox Diamond, after all. But they do play a lot of basics because they're one of the less greedier 4-color decks. So I'm not sold on Blood Moon in this matchup, but it stops a lot of their like activated lands. I'm actually not sold on Vapor Snag in this matchup. They typically don't have anything good to Vapor Snag. And then what else? I could see trimming a Preordain, because we don't typically want a lot of 1-mana spells against the Chalice deck. But maybe we could just, like, cut these Chain Lightnings. Maybe do something like this. We didn't see any really boltable threats, and I don't think they play many. They typically play, like, Dark Confidant, though. So maybe hedging on the Preordain is better. What do you guys think about this? I think I like this. It has a lot of interaction for Chalice, as well as any of their creatures they might have, as well as being pretty threat dense. Yeah, let's try this. I would like to play first. So this hand's weak to a Chalice. Like, this hand's awkward against a Chalice on one. But I'm not going to mulligan double Wasteland with Light Up the Stage. and a turn 1 Delver. They decided to keep their 7. We're just going to lead Volk, Delver, and pass. Hopefully we can just flip our Delver. Ooh. That's really punishing, actually. Green Sun for a Dryad Arbor. So we're not flipping our Delver, but we are drawing a basic here, which is good. So here... I think I want to just ponder and try to find like a red source. None of these are red sources, so we're just going to shuffle. Drawing a Braid, that's kind of awkward. I will not trade this Delver for a Dryad Arbor. So they're looking like 4-color loam, just a really interesting build of it. Please don't Engineered Plague me. It's going to be an Engineered Plague, isn't it? Pulse. Sure. Then they're going to attack me for 1 with the Arbor. Yep. True Name is not quite what we were looking for here. So this is what I was talking about with Wasteland. Sometimes you can just make... Okay. Sure. Sometimes you can just make your opponent not be able to play Magic, which is exactly what's happening here. And they have a Maze. And we just still can't play Magic. They are out of cards in hand, though. So, that is a bright side for us. I will decline the block. Two Maze of Iths. Ha ha ha. So we're going to pay 3 mana to cast this other Terramander. And then just ship it back to him. So this is pretty awkward. We really just need more red mana at this point. Or red mana in general, for that matter. Instead, we just get more red spells. So we're just going to pass it again. Typically, these matchups are kind of hard for Delver because of, like, Chalice of the Void. Trinisphere is not too typical, but again, this might not be the deck I'm thinking it is. I wonder what's in their hand. Alright, well, we can cast that. Okay. So I'm trying to decide if I want any of these. I mean, I know I want the Polluted Delta. I'm trying to decide if I want the Force or Delver. We braid the Trinisphere. Then we can have Force and Delver. I would not like to shuffle. So next turn, what land was that? I don't actually remember. We have to fetch a Volk and hope they don't have another Wasteland. Yeah, I know Force costs 3 here, but once I abrade it next turn, I can cast Force of Will in the same turn. This guy really wanted to beat blue decks. So we abrade the Trinisphere. We abrade the Trinisphere. And then we can attack for 1 by wastelanding them. But then we can't cast another spell. I think that's what we just have to do. We just can't really do anything through this Trinisphere anyways. I was supposed to do it at the end of their turn in case they have something. I just, for some reason, was thinking a braid costs 2 mana. Okay. So I think this is our way to win. One, two. We have 3 spells in the yard. So we're still pretty far off from this Pteramander. Ugh. Yeah, I think this one's pretty well over. They really wanted to beat Delver decks in their sideboard, so. And that happens sometimes. Like, I didn't have the free counter magic, so we died. So just like that, we're 1-1. As you can see, Legacy can have some up and down games. Sometimes you have good games. Sometimes your opponent just doesn't let you play Magic. And that happens. That's part of the format. But the format's still great. And imagine if we would have had, say, a Force or a Daze for the Trinisphere or Chalice. We could have been in a way better spot. Alright. Waiting for the Q to pop here. Alright, I would love to be on the play. I think this hand's a ship, even though it has counter magic. We just don't really have anything going on. I'll keep this, though. Pyromancer on 2. We have Daze at any point that we need it. And we also have the light up the stage. Yeah, like if that guy... Well, Storm, like, they have a lot of blue lands, but... Yeah, I don't know what that guy does against Reanimator unless he has a super early Chalice or Trinisphere. I think I'm in the market for this Bolt if I don't have to Daze. Should go Polluted Delta Pass. Is this the same guy? Oh, no way for me to tell, I guess. Does anybody know if this is the same person? So, yeah, we want this Lightning Bolt. And they're a Wasteland deck, so I'm going to fetch the Mountain here. And I'm going to Bolt the Lackey, because that's, like, their best card. I would love to have gotten to play the Young Pyromancer first, but We just have to deal with that card. Okay, no play on 2 is pretty good for us then. Pteramander for the draw. So I think we're just going to play out both our threats here. I think I'm going to get an island, and then I still want double red. So even though this does, like, put us in wasteland territory, I can still cast my spells through their wasteland, but it's better to be able to light up the stage with a red mana and still have a red mana open. What you got, opponent? 3 mana goblin, probably a matron. Yep. Yeah, Daze can be an elemental, or sometimes they play like Tarfire in the main. A goblin chain whirler. Houston, we're going to have a problem. Wasteland. If we ever draw a wasteland, we can counter this chain whirler. So we really want a wasteland. I'm not going to trade this young pyromancer because if we hit a wasteland, the body's going to be, we're going to want it. All right, hit me a wasteland. Daddy needs a new wasteland. Neither of those cards are wasteland. I guess we play our land for turn and pass and get really sad when we get Chain Whirlered. Chain Whirler's a sweet main deck card for goblins. Super nutty in the Delvermeres. Yep. Bye, board. I'm gonna miss you. We're gonna scare him. Make him think we got something. Alright, they know we don't know. Yep, get your beats on. They still have 5 cards in hand, too, which is the nutty thing about goblins. So we drew our island here. I don't think I'm supposed to play around the second Chain Whirler. And I really just want to get our clock on. We're at 2 spells, so Pteramander costs 6. So we're 2 lands off. 1 land off if we cast this Daze. Well, no, we'd still be 2 lands off because we have to bounce. Well, we can cast it off the Scolding Tarn. So we might just cash this Daze in to try to be able to make a Pteramander a 5/5 next turn. I don't actually think Goblins is a meme now that Deathrite's gone. I think Goblins might actually be like a really solid deck. Good old ringleader. Just hit a war chief. Nothing too scary. I should have cast this Daze. I got thinking and I got talking and didn't think about it. That might cost us here. I mean, I don't like necessarily know that Chain Whirler is like a terrible card in their main deck. Like, Delver's a big legacy deck. So we're kind of rewarded for not casting this Daze. I'm going to put these 2 back. We're going to fetch. We're going to attack for 2. We're going to get lit. Peasy Daze. I'm in for the Peasy. 2, 3, 4. So we can pump a Pteramander here. Don't second Chain Whirler me, please. If I have one favor, opponent, it's to not cast a second Goblin Chain Whirler. They're reconsidering. Maybe they heard me ask them not to cast the second Chain Whirler. Wonder what they're in the tank about. Probably what goblins they want to play. If they play around the days or not. Trash Master. So I'm going to make that play now that we talked about since it's just an exile. This also nets us a 1/1. Jeez. This guy's goblin list is sweet. We actually have to block stuff too. That attack seems interesting. Like, I think that they're supposed to attack all out and make me block. Here, I'm just going to take 4 and hope to be able to do enough. Brainstorm is a start. Okay, that was really good for us. I think we're just going to put back these two. How many spells do we have in our graveyard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think we're just going to put these back because we have to. We're going to Chain Lightning the Trash Master. Lightning Bolt the Chain Whirler. And I feel pretty comfortable attacking them for 2 in the air. 2, 3, 4, 5. Next turn, we can adapt both our Pteramanders. We might have been able to just turn this game around, actually. I do think I was maybe supposed to keep the fetch land so that way I wouldn't draw all of these lands. But we do get to play that Pteramander off the top still. Or we're going to just die. Because that's a Cranko. Legacy Staple, Cranko Mob Boss. I actually think that card's really good in Goblins. I enjoy the like toolboxy Goblin build like our opponent's playing a lot more than I enjoy the... Okay. Deal. Our opponent's playing very odd. So 3, they have 6. They get 6 more. I think we're still dead, but... Yeah, I probably should have not bolted, I agree. I just wasn't thinking about Cranko, I'll be honest. Like, the reason I bolted the Chain Whirler was I didn't want him to have, like, another Lord. And this body's super awkward for me. And I just wasn't thinking he'd play a fucking Cranko. Like, most of the Goblin lists I know of haven't been playing Cranko. Maybe he just doesn't make Goblins again, and we can win. I mean, I don't chump block forever. I chump block for as many, spells as I have when I currently had no spells in hand. Like, I'm agreeing the play wasn't correct, but I don't think it was, like, that incorrect. Like, it's incorrect exactly if they have Cranko Mob Boss. Otherwise, it just saves me a token and eats up their only, like, super effective threat. Like, the Chain Whirler was their only productive thing on that board. On the play, we're going to take out Force. Vapor Snag sucks. And we're going to go like this for being on the... We're going to go like this for being on the draw. Or on the play, I mean. We can daze their Vials, plus it's just a better card than Force of Will. I mean, yeah, like, okay, I fucked up, I'll admit it. Like, I punted, okay? I'm sorry, I make mistakes. I'll try not to do it this weekend. I was just trying to figure out how to stabilize as much as possible. Because I was at a really low life total. I think... I don't want Spell Pierce, actually. I think Pierce is probably worse than a Force of Will. What do you guys think? Do you think Force or Pierce here? Pierce can hit Vial. Like, they both can hit Vial. Pierce requires us to leave a mana open, though. All of his 4-mana guys are, like, super value. So I don't really think I want to be snagging them. Like, maybe a snag's better than a Force, but I definitely don't want a lot of Vapor Snags. Because, like, you don't want to snag the Ringleader because he just gets the trigger again. Yeah, we'll do this. I think I keep this. I think I'm supposed to fetch an island, though. It's super scary if we have days if he leads on Lackey unless he has Cavern. So you think I should have left the one Force of Will in then? We will not flip our... We have been terrible at flipping Delver this league. And we're going to Ponder. This is really good, actually. I'm going to draw the Tarn so we can play it in case we need to bolt something. But if we don't, I'm just going to leave it there to draw the Pyromancer. Cavern's exactly what we were holding the Wasteland for. Pile Driver, we have the Bolt for. I think I just want to be mana efficient here. And we're not going to have 2 red sources anyways. And I just need to kill this, so... I think we're just going to fetch the Mountain and just bolt the Pile Driver here. We will, in fact, flip our Delver to Lightning Bolt. Hit for 3. Then Wasteland or Cavern. Crater Maker. Sure. Oh, I should have dazed that. That was dumb of me. I'm so used to daze just not being active. That was super bad. I think we'll just draw. I'm actually not going to brainstorm here. Well. Actually, I am, because I want another red source to hopefully be able to leave up a removal spell. So we didn't hit, which is unfortunate. But I'm going to put my cards like that. Land for turn. And then because I was a dummy, we have to Chain Lightning this. Hopefully they play a 3-drop this next turn and I'm not, like, super punished. Or they play a 2-drop without Cavern. Yeah, it just, like, clears your brainstorm for you. It's great. We're gonna get so punished. Ugh. This feels so bad. I messed up. Like, now we have to daze just to tap his Wasteland so he doesn't kill our Delver. Yeah, I super punted this game, guys. Sorry again. Debating if I Wasteland here. So we light. I think we can just wait. So we know there's a Wasteland on top of our deck. So I might not actually light up the stage this turn. Because I really just want to kill this Crater Maker so he can't kill my Delver. Okay, War Chief is fine here. Do you guys think I light up the stage here, or do we bolt the War Chief? What do you guys think? Light or bolt? I think no matter what we're serving with this insectile elaboration. The War Chief is very scary. I don't know any of his cards. And I don't know any cards on top of my deck. I've drawn both of the cards from Brainstorm. If we hit a red source, we get to do both. But that's kind of a risk. Okay. I could see burning him out as a plan. So we hit a Braid Daze. So I'm just going to play this Wasteland and pass then. We have hard cast Daze up. So that means unless he has a land, he actually can't cast like Krenko here. Is this just the Krenko? Nope, another Chieftain, sure. Can't counter that one. Or a Chieftain, not another one. Yep, so we take 5 here. I think I was actually supposed to just cast Daze anyways. Because I'd want it in my graveyard for Terramander. So I think we're going to attack for 3. This has him dead in 1. We're going to Wasteland him to short him on mana. I'm going to set a stop on my end step to try to get rid of this guy's mana. Make him do whatever he's going to do. Because he looked like he had a play. Okay. Then we're going to lose this Abrade anyways, so I think I'm just going to hit the War Chief. Again, just try to strain him on mana. We have him dead next turn. Okay. 2, 4, 6. Okay. So I think we win. Force a game 3. Attack for 3. Then just cast this bolt. Alright. So on the draw, I definitely don't want these Dazes. And I think I want these Forces for Vials. And I think we leave in the 1 Vapor Snag. What do you guys think? Do I want the full grip of forces on the draw, or do I want the second Vapor Snag and go 3 forts? I know I know Russ, you said you don't like Vapor Snag in this match. I know you've played Goblins, but I'm curious what everyone else thinks. Force is not great against them, but I don't think Vapor Snag's that great either. How's everyone doing also? We are on the day before I leave for SCG Cincy. I'm actually going to be going with Fools and Berrig in the chat. They're going to be my teammates. Super excited to team with you guys. Feel like we're going to do pretty well, so as long as I can avoid whatever that second deck is in Legacy. Or second deck was, I guess, is the proper sense. Alright. I think I'm going to just run with the forces. I think having the opportunity to force a Vial is very good. This hand's kind of slow, but I think it's a keep. Blazing Volley's really good against them. We have 2 of our basics plus cantrips and one of our best cards in True Name. They have a really hard time with dealing with True Name Nemesis, so. No turn 1 play. Ooh, and we drew a Pteramander. That's a pretty good draw. I'm just going to lead on the Pteramander now. We can always light up the stage next turn. Unless we feel like we need a Blazing Volley. Chalice for 1. Well, that's kind of awkward against Ponder and Blazing Volley, but we do have the Abrades in our deck. And that means, oh, they mulliganed a lot too, I think. Because they're at 5 cards in hand already. Or they're at 3 cards in hand already. Yeah, they mulliganed to 5. So their hand might not have much else to do. We're just going to Spectacle this, light up the stage. This Null Rod should not be in my deck, actually. I should have the second Vapor Snag instead of this, I think. I didn't think about that. We got this. I believe in us. Yeah, the Vapor Snags would definitely be better than this Null Rod. I just totally overlooked that card when I sideboarded. Yep, that's the War Chief. I think I should have cast one of these 1-mana spells since we have a Pteramander in play. That's kind of the reason to not cast those spells. Wow, that was bad. I just audibled to playing the land in my hand because I looked over at chat. I'm sorry. So here I'm going to just fetch the island for Wasteland. And I think we're just going to stick a True Name. Target them. Poke him with the Pteramander and pass. Yep, 3-mana Ringleader is really good. This Chalice might get him out of... Holy crap. That was nuts. They're going to win this game. They just drew 4 cards off Ringleader. The last card in hand was Mog War Marshal, too. Just goblin things. Really trying to figure out if they attack or not. Yeah, so if we would have played that fetch land off that, we could have cast 2 of these spells into the Chalice of the Void and gotten 2 Pyromancer tokens, and we'd be in a pretty good spot if I would have done that. That was just a big mistake on my part. I just like looked over and just like audible to land in hand play. Delver, perfect. So we're going to try to gum up this board. I actually think with their hand, I just don't even know if I can attack with this Pteramander. But I guess I'm really not going to want to block with it, so I may as well. Yeah, I'm hoping Pyro saves me. Actually, yeah, it's not going to because of this Gem Palm. The Chalice was just brutal this game. I think this game was easy if it wasn't for that Chalice. Yep. Now he probably attacks with everything else. So I'm not going to block the Crater Maker just because I know he's just going to sack it. And I'm fine taking 1 extra damage to keep my Pteramander for another turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, like that. That Ringleader was absurd. So I guess we just cast both of our spells into our Chalice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then next turn we can pump up the Pteramander. I just don't really know how we come back from this, if we're being honest. The Chalice into War Chief into a Ringleader that drew them 4 cards was brutal. If the Ringleader wouldn't have been as good, I think we still could have been in this game, but wow, they have another Gem Palm. Yeah, that hit was insane. I don't get why they didn't attack with both War Chiefs here. I really wish they didn't have that Chalice. Why is one Chief more special than the other? Is it because it's the one that he nutted off with? Another one. You did it. You ported me, opponent. Am I dead yet? Block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, we're at 1. I don't know what our out is, but... See, this time he attacked with it. I'm going to block this one just because he didn't attack with it any other time. Alright. Chalice of the Void is a very powerful magic card. Remember that. So we're 1 and 2 right now. We beat Goblins in the first one, and then we lost to Goblins again because they had Chalice of the Void. And I misplayed game 1. And we lost to what I think is 4-color loam with a really hateful sideboard for Delver. But I'm not 100% sure. I think this deck is still very good. I think our Goblins game would have been closer if I didn't screw up game 1. And I think sometimes you're just going to face decks that really want to beat you. This hand's fine. We have turn 1 Daze. And we also have a Pyromancer that we can just chill with in our hand. I'm going to lead on the Volk, even though I typically would want to fetch a basic in case of Wasteland. Because I would like to save the fetch for this Brainstorm. Does he just not Wasteland me? Cool. Oh, is this just like an upkeep Wasteland for the lulz? I'm actually going to punish him for, like, doing it in my upkeep by brainstorming. Well, I guess this really doesn't punish him, actually. Play a fetch and pass. Yeah. We actually just like had to brainstorm ourselves there a little bit by that play. Looks like Death and Taxes. Maybe without a colored source. So we're going to just fetch the island. And then this Polluted Delta is just going to fetch a Volk. Alright. We have a lot of dazes, so. Come on, peasy. If this is D&T, Pyromancer's pretty good in this matchup. Since he makes a lot of bodies. We will for sure daze that Stoneforge Mystic by picking up our Volcanic Island. Typically, Daze and Force are actually pretty bad in this matchup, so getting some good value off it's pretty sweet here. Alright, drew a Terramander. Just going to play the Volk, attack for 3. Then we're going to play the Salamander Drake. Let our opponent take their turn now. We can just bolt this, so I think I'm fine letting this Stoneforge resolve. I'd rather save the Force for something scarier. They got a Jit. And bolt it. I'm gonna actually remove my end of turn stop because I don't think we'll need it for this matchup. We're gonna get our beats on. Play a Delver and pass the turn. Another one. I mean, yeah, sure. We didn't counter the last one. Why counter this one? Sophie. Please play the Jit. I will gladly daze it. I will even use the mana to brainstorm to set it up. Plow. That's rude. We're going to ditch the daze to force that. Really want my Delver. I just want to clock them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I can't draw a spell. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to them. Gonna brainstorm and hopefully find a bolt. No bolt, but a ponder might find it. I'm gonna flip the Delver to the ponder since we're gonna cast it anyways. Get our fetch on. I'm gonna get the Volk since we're pretty wasteland proof anyways. The ponder actually digs us a card deeper, but if we draw a cantrip off that, I'd want it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, they're actually dead. Cool. Yeah, I counted and I thought I was one off from adapting. But I didn't think about being able to draw land off a cantrip. Alright, so death and taxes. So on the draw, I don't think Blood Moon's very good against them. I think Null Rod's great because we just want to stop their artifacts. Daze seems pretty bad on the draw. Flusterstorm just doesn't seem that great in this matchup. I actually like Vapor Snag for Batter Skull tokens. Surgical doesn't seem great. Blazing Volley's a maybe. Pyroblast and Cage does not seem great. And then this is where we're at right now. What do you guys think for the last cuts? I could see it either being 2 forces or a force and this Blazing Volley. So Blazing Volley is just 1 damage to each creature they control. So it can kill Thalia, Mother of Runes, Flicker Wisp. Yeah, I'm actually in on the Blazing Volley. I'm gonna cut 2 forces. What do we think about this? Force isn't that great. I typically like taking my counter magic out in this matchup. What's your guys' opinions on this setup? I think I like this build of blue-red a lot more than the Sly version against Death and Taxes. You have a lot... You're not as dead to their equipments. And True Name Nemesis is always just like one of the best cards in this matchup. Do you think I just run this back or run it like this? Do you think there's anything better than the 2 forces? Do you think the 2 forces are fine? Do you think we maybe want 2 more forces? I like the Pikachu, so we're going to submit based on the Pikachu. This hand's creature dense, which I really like against them because of swords. We have Pyromancer, which is great. And we have a Wasteland for any land that might be annoying. They did Mulligan as well, so that makes me want to keep. They decided to keep their 6. Now they're scrying. Turn 1 Vial. Yikes. They did top their card. Alright, well that's pretty good. That's one of, like I was saying, that's one of our best cards in this matchup. I think I'm going to just fetch an island, play out a Terramander, and then ship it back to them. depending on what they do, we can either Forked Bolt and play the other Pteramander. Well, we can't do that now. We can either Forked Bolt the Thalia, or we can just stick this Peasy. The only issue is if they have Mother of Runes here. So with that draw, I actually think I'm just going to play this Tarn, attack for 1 and pass. Because typically it's pretty hard to kill a Mother of Runes. But if they vial in the mom, we can just bolt it EOT now. Yep. Exactly like this. That's one of the more peskier cards in this matchup to deal with. So even though it's scary to fetch a non-basic, I really want to play True Name next turn, so I'm actually going to fetch a Volcanic Island. Oh. The play I talked about. The Wasteland really punishing us there. But I think getting Basic Mountain is like... It's obviously not as bad in that situation, but... we really want to play these True Names as fast as we can. They are insane in this matchup. Unfortunately, though, we can't cast them when our opponent's Wastelanding us. Womp womp. So we're going to get in with this Pteramander. Then we're going to pass the turn and probably get really sad. Yeah. So this is kind of the awkward part of the matchup, is when they have Vial and we don't have as much removal or disruption. Vial's just very good against us. We still have a couple draws. Jit's going to be really scary, though. Okay. I think that's the death of us, unfortunately. I don't think we're going to beat them once they stick a Jit on Thalia. So, on the draw, I'd rather have these Dazes than these Forces. Because we really just want to tag a turn 1 Vial at the least amount of the least amount of cards as possible. I still like the Blazing Volley and the Forked Bolt and all of our removal. I think I like Daze more than Spell Pierce on the play. And on the draw, I think I would have actually rather had another Force. So that was one small thing that didn't come up, but I should have probably had 3 Forces in my deck as opposed to the Spell Pierce. Okay. I think I like how this looks for the play. Just try to disrupt as early as possible while also trying to keep as many resources as possible. That's really what this matchup's about. I could even buy trimming like a Preordain for the 4th Daze, because Daze is pretty good on the play. But if they play Cavern, Daze gets kind of awkward. What do you guys think? 4th Daze or run it as is? I can see both being pretty correct. I don't have a Gideon, unfortunately. I can't board Gideon in. I think we'll try it like this. I would love to be on the play. So this hand doesn't have a Daze or really an answer for a turn 1 Vial. But it has double threat. It has a Brainstorm with a fetch land. And it has a Forked Bolt. So I think I'm going to keep this. These matchups do get pretty card advantage heavy. So typically if I don't have to mulligan, if my hand's fine, I won't mulligan. Just the swords, sure. Ooh, there we go. So with that, I'm actually pretty happy with our hand, so I'm not going to cast this Brainstorm. I'm just going to cast this Pteramander and pass. If they give us something we might want to counter, I might try to Brainstorm for a daze. But otherwise, probably just leave as is. We can't daze that, unfortunately, so we'll just let it resolve. Alright, now we're going to try to get a daze, though. Get our second island. Okay, we didn't hit, but we hit some good cards, so... think we're just going to put it back like this. Then we have to let the vial resolve. That's fine, though. We have Pyromancer with Forked Bolt in a couple of turns, or for next turn. And we are just going to get to land True Name Nemesis, so... TNN, the best card against D&T. Then we'll pass it back. They have a Wasteland. So they're probably going to Wasteland, then port us on our turn. We're just going to start getting in with this True Name, and we'll play our Young Pyromancer. We might actually Wasteland their Rishadan port instead of playing Pyromancer, because I'd like to have my red mana accessible to me. But sticking Pyro is pretty good, even if it does delay us a turn on this Forked Bolt. Yeah. I think I like just getting our threats into play. Attack him for 3 because he can't do anything about it. So yeah, True Name Nemesis is just like a lightning bolt that Death and Taxes can't interact with. A factory. Yep. So, I'm actually not going to attack with PZ because of Thalia. But I do think I'm going to hold this Wasteland and put a stop on my end step in case of Stoneforge. I'm going to Wasteland this Caracas and try to get him to not put the artifact in. Yep. What do they get here? Sophie. Yeah. While I'd like to Wasteland one of their better lands, I really just want to try to let them not have white mana. I have a hunch that they might not have another white source. Of course they do. But that's fine. There's still a turn off from equipping. Is that from Wizard's actual channel, the like Gideon and Liliana? Or what channel are those emotes from? I do get to Forked Bolt the Stoneforge Mystic if they decide they want to put stuff in. Delver's good. So yeah, I think I'm going to just lead on this Forked Bolt here. It means unless they have Batter Skull as well, they can't do a whole lot. Well, they can activate and then equip if they have another land, but that's going to be really mana intensive every turn. So there's not many 3-drops that can trade with Young Pyro. And I really want to get my opponent on the clock now that they have this Sophie in play. And I'm actually going to play this Delver too, because that way it pressures what they hit with the Sophie if they play a land and then equip it to the factory. Yep. Yep, so we're going to take 4, and then they're going to get to draw a card and then kill one of our creatures. We'll see which one they choose. I think it's actually a pretty tough choice. I think it's probably Delver, because Delver probably races harder. They choose Pyro, which is fine. So I'll just cast this Brainstorm. So we get to... We're putting the light up on top no matter what. I think I want to just exile the land. So this will flip our Delver. Go to combat. We get to just swing with the squad. They might have a Flicker Wisp here, but I'm fine with it. Or they just take 8. Yeah, so as you've seen, True Name was huge these games. They don't typically have a sweeper to answer everything, so I'm just going to play everything out. Just try to go as wide as possible in case they have something. Canopy probably for a redraw. Oh, they just give up. All right. So we're 2-2. That means we're playing for our money back in this last round. I hope everyone's having a great day. I'm having a lot of fun streaming Legacy. I love this format, and I'm excited to play this deck this weekend. I feel like it's pretty well positioned as it's put up results in both of the paper Legacy tournaments, and it's felt really smooth for me. The most recent changes we're adding back in the second Blood Moon. We cut it for a hot second, but I realized we just need it for the Turbo Depth matchups. Those matchups can be pretty rough without a second moon. If any of you guys play Legacy in chat, what do you guys play? Or if you could play Legacy, what would you play? I will be on the play. Yeah. This hand's fine. We're going to ponder on 1. We have a Pyro and a light up. We have Force of their Degenerate deck. You typically don't mulligan a whole bunch with Delver. Especially if you don't have to. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with this. We have a lot of bolts if they're a creature deck, and drawing this Ponder lets us hold up Force of Will. Tropical Island? Ponder. Could be a bug deck. Could also be Rug Delver. Could maybe be Infect. A lot of decks in the air for what that could be. Nonetheless, I think we're just going to fetch a basic mountain here and play our Young Peasy. In the words of the great artist Lil Dicky, I woke up Young Peasy. So we're going to force pitch Ponder here back because I really want a threat. And that force tells me that they're probably more of a fair deck. Makes me think it's probably Rug Delver more than anything else. So it is a bug deck. It's not Rug. That's pretty unfortunate for our hand. We really wanted that young Pyromancer. So here, I think we just need to find some gas. So we're going to Chain Lightning and then light up the stage. And here's a good example of the issue of Force of Will in like fair matchups. Our opponent's at fair cards, at 4 cards in hand, and we're down to 1 because we had to force back on their force. I think Bug's a really powerful deck in whatever shell. If you're a big fan of Legacy, one of our other streamers, Aaron Miyoki, also streams a lot of Legacy. And I know he's been pretty big on the Bug Delver train right now. You should hop over to our YouTube channel and check out his videos once it gets posted. He streamed with another one of our streamers, Donovan, who is in my opinion, one of the best Legacy players that I know. He used to, back when Deathrite Shaman was legal, he was known as Mr. Grixis Delver. Bug Standstill. Interesting. So it's kind of awkward. If we draw a threat, we probably just have to pop this Standstill. But like right now, I'm fine just like playing this Wasteland and passing. Because neither of us really have anything going on. His deck is built for Standstill though, so it's probably more likely that he will benefit off it. He probably has some man lands in his deck to where we just don't. Okay. I think this is exactly like the situation I was just talking about. What do you guys think? Do we pop the Standstill? Or do we try to make him pop it? I think there's a chance he'd just pop it if he has something good. But if not, we just keep waiting and he gets to keep building up his hand. We don't have any protection, and he will go up to 6 cards, but I don't really know if we can keep waiting. If this True Name does stick, he does have Edict in his deck too. This feels really bad. Standstill's a solid archetype. I haven't seen Sultai before, but I've tinkered around with blue-red as well as Jeskai and blue-white Standstill. Bug seems like a pretty interesting shell, though. Anything that can main deck Diabolic Edict is typically pretty strong. Wonder what our opponent's really thinking about here. Maybe think about casting a Brainstorm before this Standstill. But I believe if they cast a Brainstorm, then I would get to draw the 3 cards. I'm not 100% sure. They might have just walked away from the computer for a minute. Yeah, that seems like what it was. Maybe went and grabbed something to drink or grabbed some food. There's the Brainstorm. Could have been looking up what the interaction of Standstill and Brainstorm, whether they'd get to draw 3 cards or if I would draw 3 cards. Because if they still got to draw the 3, I think Brainstorming then fetching would have been better. Probably has, like, just traditional counter spell here. This seems interesting to me. They could have just Snap Edicted on their turn. I wonder why they're digging so hard to answer this. Seemed like an interesting line from our opponent. Yep. So I'm probably just gonna Vapor Snag my own true name when they go to pop this deed. Because I think true name might be our way to win. Congrats to my friend Gavin. Him and his girlfriend just got a brand new car. Lily's fine. Lily can't target it. Lily's a good clock on their end, though. So I'm actually going to wasteland them here because if they want to pop the deed, it makes them do it now. And it would get rid of their Liliana. Oh, actually, deed doesn't get rid of Liliana. The Vapor Snag resolved. As does our wasteland. Alright. Actually, I'm going to try to bait with this Pteramander. I assumed it wouldn't work, but it was worth a shot. Now we'll go for the true name, target them. I don't think I'm supposed to play around a second board wipe. I need to just get them dead before this Lily can ult. Oh, duh. I'm dumb. Yeah, now they get to Snap Edict. I think this game slipped out of our hand. Again, like, the standstill was huge here. Because they just got they got to refill on so many cards. Yeah. Yeah. We're just dead. I'm not beating them after the second standstill. Standstill's a really powerful control deck. And that Bug Shell looks really interesting. So, Null Rod doesn't do a lot. Blood Moon, they play a lot of basics. Braid doesn't really have any targets. Flusterstorm seems great. Vapor Snag does not. Surgical seems meh. Blazing Volley seems meh. Grafdigger's Cage seems meh. So we got 4 more cards to cut. I think it's probably just going to be Forces. Again, I really don't want a 2-for-1 myself. I'd like to cut the Dazes because it's either Force or Daze. Because the game will go long. But at the same time, I really hate 2-for-1ing myself, especially when they have Standstill. So I think it's between the 2 counter spells for what I cut. What do you guys think? Do I cut all force, all days? Do I cut some number in between? What do you guys think? I could use a little help here. I think we want all of our other cards to just try to kill them. And also counter their stuff. We need some number of counter magic because I don't just want to let them resolve a standstill. That's a good way to lose. Days or force? Force or days? What do you think, chat? I could always buy the losers 2-2 split as well. Because I'm really not sure which is better. Yeah, I really don't know which is correct, so I think I'm just going to go 2 and 2. I hate doing this, but this is a match I'm going to have to talk to some people who play Legacy more. Ah, yes. Oof. I really don't want to keep this, but I'm not going to go down to 5. Delver's pretty good. I'm going to lead Wasteland past because I just don't want to get Wastelanded off my color source. Tar Pit pass. So we're going to play Delver. I'm not going to Wasteland them. I really want to just draw land for this True Name. If they stick a standstill here, this is going to feel really bad to have just like not Wastelanded them there, but I don't think I can just blow the Wasteland when I have a True Name in hand. If they do play a standstill, like I have this Delver. Him to Turok. Ouch. They didn't hit our True Name though, so I will not reveal Young Pyromancer. I will attack for 1. And then I will play out a Young Pyromancer. Pyromancer's great versus the Edict, so. Liliana's really good against everything I have in play. Yep. Bye, Pyro. The Delver will still not flip. So I unfortunately think we just have to kill this Liliana so our Delver doesn't die. Then I think we Wasteland the Tar Pit now. Since we don't really need 2 Wastelands. And they didn't miss a land drop. I thought they missed a land drop for a second. This Ponder might signify that they don't have an extra land in hand. I promise I can speak. Ugh. That's so rude, opponent. Our Delver still just never flips. I didn't know I registered Fugitive Wizard in Legacy. Yep. They're digging for that land. It's a race to see who hits their next land drop, I think. And it was them. So that's pretty bad for us. Hooray, Delver flipped. But they probably have Diabolical Edict here. Abrupt Decay. I just have to Wasteland them. It feels terrible, but yeah. Yep. I think this game's just about done. This matchup seems hard. I really like this bug standstill list, though. I might need to try to find it myself. Might give it a try. I think it's a little too late to change to that deck for this weekend, but maybe something we can play on stream at some point. Bug in Legacy just has so many good answers. It's almost like the Jeskai in Modern. Has pretty good answers to everything. Okay. That plays. I just think we're so far behind I can't play around Wasteland anymore. Like, I think they would have played it out as opposed to missing a land drop, too. Okay, that's stuck. Haha. They know we have this, but I still have to play it anyways. So, we do have a threat on the table now, but they have 6 cards in their hand. Our land we just picked up and replayed, and our True Name Nemesis. So if we do hit a source for this True Name, though, oh no, the second Liliana, the last hope. Oh no. Oh no, that dies the Lily. Does it actually? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, that dies the Lily. I think I'm just gonna hold on to it. Like, I just want to make it a 5/5. This game feels so lost, chat, and I'm sad. We were so close to prizing our first Legacy League. If I wouldn't have punted versus Goblins, who knows? I don't think there were much I was supposed to do against this or that Trinisphere choke deck, but I think those are just going to be bad matchups. Does he target the him? Nope, he targets a Ponder. This guy's Snapcaster choices have been very interesting to me. Alright, we'll force it and hope we draw a land. Alright, we're dead. So, two what seemed almost unwinnable matchups. So, and then we punted versus Goblins, which I feel bad and I admit I punted. I think this deck's great, though. I definitely think there's a reason that it tops a lot of Legacy tournaments and a lot of people play it. It's very powerful. Light Up the Stage is insane. And Delver's just always going to be one of the best decks in Legacy. So, before I sign off, I just want to hop over back to momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro.com and remind you guys to check this store out. Whether you're watching on Twitch right now or you're watching on YouTube later, you can check out all our links in the description of our YouTube videos. Make sure you come over to momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro for any cards that you need. Anywhere from basic lands to Oath of Teferis to anything you might even need for Legacy. I'm sure Mom's Basement Game has most of it. You should also check out our Twitch stream if you are coming from YouTube, as well as check out our Facebook group, no matter where you are. We're a great group of people. Check us out on Twitch for some funny things like 2 dinosaurs fighting, which I'll let you watch that video to see how that goes. And hop over to our YouTube video watching from Twitch if you want more great Legacy, Modern, and Standard content. As well as check out our Twitter to find out how to enter for this foil Goyfs. I said it earlier in the video, so you could probably watch on YouTube as well. But also, feel free to give me a follow on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @RichardTMTG. I'd highly appreciate it. And with that, I was your host today, Richie T, also known as Richard T. And I will be signing off. I hope you all have a wonderful night.